agenda, right? I think I clicked the wrong one. I can't see you all, but I'll just do it again. Okay. Is this, can someone say, I can't see you?
That's the head exchange, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Sam, I don't know if you started recording, but if you haven't, could you start recording now?
Yes.
So all of you should be familiar with our City of Vancouver website. It's City of Vancouver/CDBG. If you go down to these program documents, you'll find our TBRA policies and procedures, our rent limits, and these get updated whenever there is an update, or pretty frequently. So this should kind of be where you're getting a lot of your information. Sorry, I need to, the sharing is in the way. So in our TBRA policies and procedures on page 8, you can find the link to the income calculator. And then this also, if you're not familiar with it, you should be. It's just 26 pages of requirements and policies and procedures on how to run a TBRA program for our jurisdiction. So you click on that link, it'll take you to HUD Exchange. You create an account, and then you make sure that you click right here. Home is the program that is funding this. And I've already kind of come up with a pretend situation. The numbers are not going to be accurate. It was just kind of did it for ease so that we can click through this together. So you'll get started. In this case, you'll always click tenant-based rental assistance. We'll go through the annual income first, and then adjusted income, and then rental assistance. And then each tab has kind of different groups that will kind of continue through as we click through these. This also has a lot of notes and information to read through. So if this is your first time, or if you've always kind of skipped through it, I would encourage you to kind of read all of these reminders just to make sure that you are understanding kind of what to do with the income calculator. So click tenant-based rental assistance, and then we can continue. I would suggest entering maybe HMIS number or another number that is associated with the household that your agency uses. All of you should be using HMIS, so I think that would probably be the easiest. I just made up a number in this case, and then the household has 4 people in it. So I entered both of those when I first did this. Okay, so again, made up numbers. The first person is the head of household. The second person is a co-head of household, so another adult, and they are a person with disabilities. And then 2 children that are under the age of 18 are also in this household. We are in the state of Washington, Portland, Vancouver metro area, and then the income limit is 60%. So the income calculator has all of the updated income limits, and will come up with a number that the AMI that needs to be in there. Along the way, we'll also have these print or PDF options for your files. So you could show that when you entered this for eligibility on this date, this is what the income limit was. So has this household previously been determined income eligible? In this case, we are approving them for eligibility, so no, but when you're doing re-income certification, you would choose yes. Okay, so you will choose the 24 CFR Part 5 annual income to start calculating income. I have to shrink it again to show you. I looked it up. So this is 24 CFR 5 annual income, and it will have and explain everything that you might come across. So if you're unsure if there's income or if there's some sort of source of income that the household gets, you can look through here and probably find your answer. What I did to find this was I just copied 24 CFR Part 5 annual income, and it was the first link I clicked on. So that's just another resource to have. And then it'll ask you passbook rate. Again, I just Googled passbook rate, and as of January 1st, 2024, it is 0.40%. So that is what you put in there. And then you start to put income. So in this case, I said the household has a checking account with $100 in it. For their assets, you can add in different assets depending on what the household has. It will list it all out for you. Household member number 1 has an income. So I put that they are employed. They make $18 per hour at 20 hours per week, 52 hours or weeks per year. They do not receive overtime or bonus pay, and they're not anticipating a raise or COLA increase. So I did not check this. Again, there's a lot of kind of additional information that I would encourage you to read as you're putting this information in. So this person does not receive benefits or pension, public assistance, or other income. So I can move to household member number 2. Remember, they were a person with a disability, so they have SSI. There's multiple options for public assistance, but this is one we chose. So we put SSI monthly, they get $600. And then that is all that person has. And then the 2 children don't have any income. So I left all of those blank with zeros. So we will calculate their income. This is just a summary. Again, another export to PDF. If you want this for your files, it will list kind of the assets, anticipated income, and then we'll also show what the AMI is, a 60% AMI. So this household makes 25,920, which is under the 67,680. If this is close, you'll need to go to adjusted income, but adjusted income will kind of change the income based on some of these answers that you give. So I would wait until you get to the very end summary to determine whether they're eligible or not. So in this case, there's 2 dependents in the household. The household in this case does not have reimbursable childcare expenses. If you are unsure, here's more information you can read through. And these are kind of throughout. So if you're reading these should tell you kind of the answer or decide. And then if you think, yes, this household does, there will be more information. But in this case, the children are older, so they don't. And then they don't have, I put no reimbursed disability expenses. Again, there's the I there if you need more information. I put no again for medical expenses, and the I is there again. And then in this case, I put yes to elderly or disabled household because the person, the head of household has a disability. So in this case, I put yes. And then it will give you the income summary. So we had seen that it was $25,920 after the deductions. They're at $24,560 adjusted income, which is still under the 60% AMI. So again, this can kind of help if they're just right at that cusp. So before I move on, are there any questions about income or this first part that we talked about? Okay, I will move on to rental assistance. So now we are going to be putting in all of the information about the rental unit. So we'll always choose the home tenant-based rental assistance model. In this case, we are saying that the rent is $2,000. This will include water, trash, and sewer. And then they also are going to get a utility allowance because they have to pay the utility company and the landlord some of the utility bills. So you can find this document on the VHA's website. All of you should have it to calculate utility allowance. This family is renting an apartment, so we're using this first page, but there's 4 in total. This would be for a standard single family home, and then the other 2 are for energy efficient multifamilies. In most cases, you're going to use this first page. Okay, so in this case, we are calculating all of the utilities. Like I said, the water, sewer, and trash are all included in the rent, so they are not going to be included in this utility allowance. So for heating, they have natural gas. For cooking, they have electric. We added other electric options, lights and appliances, and then the household happens to have air conditioning. The monthly charges are have electric up here, so we highlighted that, and they have the natural gas charge up here, so we added that. And then their water heating is electric. So all of this, you'll kind of fill in these boxes, total it'll be $113, and you'll fill this all out and keep this in the family's file, the household's file. So here, $113 for the utility allowance. So this should stay $113 every month. So if you're paying the utility, let's say you're paying the natural gas directly, you would give the natural gas utility company $37 each month. And then in this case, there's no minimum tenant contribution to rent. And then this is just the FMR, 100% FMR. So again, you can find this on our website that I showed you at the beginning, but this is a 3-bedroom. FMR is $2,574. So you put that right there. Okay, so the income calculator came up with all of this for me. I didn't enter any of this information in there. So that last tab is where you'll enter everything, and then it will automatically come up with these numbers on their own. So in this case, your agency will pay $14.99, and then the tenant contribution will be $614. This one also export to PDF. You'll want this in your file. And as a reminder, the rent is going to be, the FMR needs to be lower than the $2,000 rent plus the utility allowance. So if FMR was just $2,000, this would be over because you have to include the utility allowance in the FMR when you're calculating this. So that would be this line right here. Okay. Any, well, we'll save it and then it'll take you back to the home screen. Oh, and one last thing I did want to mention is that this HUD Exchange has a webinar from 2012, so pretty old, and it doesn't really look like the income calculator does now. But I watched this training and it actually has a lot of great information that's still relevant. So if this is that we kind of just went through now isn't enough and you still have some questions, I recommend also watching this training as well. And I can forward this link on along with these other links to anyone that attended today's meeting so that you can all have them also. But I think that's all I had. Are there any questions or anything that anyone wants me to go through some more or discuss more?
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the sheet, the utility sheet at the bottom, there's like a tenant-owned microwave/range.
Mhm.
Are we selecting that if folks just own a microwave that they've brought, or does it have to be like the range microwave combination?
We were kind of discussing this before, and with Rebecca, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's if the unit doesn't have a microwave and the tenant has to provide it themselves, then you would
Okay.
get that. Yeah.
Okay. I think
If
that's
they
what we've been
just,
doing too. So
yeah.
that's good to hear.
If they just like have their microwave that the unit came with and then also have their own, then that wouldn't count. Any other questions? I know this has been Rebecca, the county and the city have both been getting a lot of questions. Just making sure that this or using this and making sure um, that utilities are corrected. So I want to make sure everyone gets their questions answered. Brenda,
Hey,
do
my question, it's not really more of a question, it's more of a comment. Um, I know that a lot of the confusion with some of the caseworkers are definitely around that, like what is the rent portion and what is the utility amount. And so when I typically write it in and explain it to the client, I literally go in and take the full portion amount and then minus the utility so they know exactly what their rent portion is and how much they should be paying towards their utilities. Because sometimes they get kind of confused by that whole just portion amount at the bottom and don't realize that it's split between how much they should be paying in utilities and how much they're actually paying in their rent portion. Is there any way that like that'll eventually be like split out again like it did previously? Because it didn't always look this way on the HUD calculator.
we have no say in how the HUD calculator looks, so I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it changing. I do know they're making updates, but I want to get clarification on what you're saying. So are you saying that like the $113, sometimes the client might think that that's part of the rent that you're paying, or oh, you're muted.
Yeah, so a lot of times they see that bottom portion, both case managers and clients when they're still kind of learning this, definitely see that just portion at the bottom and just think, oh, that's my rent. That's what I pay in rent. And you know, we have to make sure that they very clearly understand, no, actually, if you look at how much the organization is paying, it's actually your rent is less because we're including that utility portion in that entire portion. So this is what we expect that you're going to pay in utilities. It could be less, it could be more. And then this is actually what your rent portion is. So it's a little confusing when they changed it because previously it did have like the utilities kicked out. So you saw how it was portioned separately. So yeah, I know you don't have any control over it, but if you do know somebody to make that comment, like, hey, kick it out because it makes it confusing for everybody.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because I'm sure there's other providers that maybe have come across that um, or maybe have thought, oh, that's probably what was happening with my client when they weren't sure. So I'm glad you called that out.
I have a question.
Mhm.
On the newest utility allowance form, there's a spot for other electric, but there's also an additional spot that says other specify electric charge or gas charge. So I'm wondering if we're clicking or using both of the other electric boxes on that form.
What is your form more updated than the one that I just used? Or
Yeah.
where is it on? Oh,
Yeah, I think it's the most recent one. I don't remember the date it came out.
okay. I can reach out. I mean, the VHA is going to know what those updates are more than I am, so I can reach out to them and ask them. But there were boxes that said other
Yeah.
electric.
Yeah, there's two. There's one that says other electric, and then there's another section that says other electric specify, or it says other specify either electric or gas.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
can reach out to them and then let you all know the answer to that.
Thank you.
Hi, I also have a question. When you were going through and you were doing the annual income and you got to where it says applicable passbook rate is you have 0.04. I'm kind of curious where you got that from because over here in Janus, we've been using 0.06 for the past few years. Just wondering where that number came from.
Yeah, so if you just Google passbook rate, it will have the most up-to-date. So January 1st, 2024 is when it updated from 0.06 to 0.4%. So it just changed in the last couple of months.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Well,